The bells are striking 12 o'clock in Berlin. Must be 11 o'clock in Greenwich Mean Time. I think we're live. Meg says, good morning from Oregon. Well, Meg, I think you're there, aren't you? You're trying to find the link to join. Does it just come on at 11? Well, I have to press the button, I think. But anyway, I've pressed the button. Great. A friend gave me this, came back from India and gave me this. I was going to wear it, but then I thought, actually, it doesn't quite go with the waistcoat. You're kind of mixing the David Lynch and the Indian trinket, but it's lovely, isn't it? It's copper. I think it's a very, very thin bit of copper. It's been sort of, I imagine they kind of like imprinted it with a press. Like they stamped it, didn't they? And it's got a sun on it, a sun with a moustache, which I think is fabulous. But I'll wear it. I mean, it makes me look very hippie, but I will wear it eventually. So, oh yeah, I'm going to join on my computer so that I can see the chat more easily. If I wave, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, there's a 5-second delay. That's interesting. I guess it takes 5 seconds to go up the tubes. And that's why our conversation is always a bit kind of delayed and a bit slowed down, isn't it? Redwing says, good morning, Robert. Hi, everyone from Edinburgh. Great. Athens of the North. Okay. Well, it's 12 o'clock here. I've decided I'm not going to do any live streams for the foreseeable future, where I have to get up on a Sunday morning kind of early, because I can do it. I'm not stupid, but I actually think that the body knows that it's the weekend, and the body kind of wants to have an extra hour or maybe 2 hours of sleep on a Sunday morning. And I find that if I set the alarm and jump out of bed a bit earlier on Sunday morning, I lose my balance. It kind of spoils the Sunday, and then I don't feel refreshed for the week. So I think this 11 GMT is my early slot, and then I'm going to try a late slot as well. So there might be, 6 p.m. GMT, or there might even be an even later one. Good morning from Rio. Wow, that's exciting. Good morning, good morning. I'm going to do a reading for the live stream to get us all going. Yes, the last morning slot, morning for me that I did, I think was at, 8 o'clock in the morning here in Berlin. I was fine, but then I had to go back to bed. Okay, please give us a reading for the live stream. Me, you, it. Okay, that's quite nice. So I'll show you what we've got. We have 7 of Pentacles for me, a 4 of Swords for you guys, and a 3 of battens for the live stream. So the live stream's in good shape. There's some good new ideas and energy and positivity coming in during the live stream today. You guys seem to be quite, I don't know, are you Is this a way of relaxing for you, could one say, a nice thing to do on a Sunday? And it feels like that's less relaxed for me. The Seven of Pentacles is often a card of pausing from labor, which, you know, as I just said, the human being likes to do on a Sunday. But your trusty tea and tarot is here for you, working on a Sunday for you. What's the word? Gerne, they say in Germany, willingly and with pleasure. So it's quite auspicious for the live stream, and I can see you guys on my computer a bit more easily. But it's not scrolling terribly well. Oh! I was still in bed at the 10:30 notification. Redwing, what does that mean? Do you mean that they only notify you like half an hour before the live stream? That's a bit strange. 4 a.m. here, so was I. I think I might have put on a community post about this. Maybe I didn't, but I scheduled this live 2 weeks ago. And so I think if you press the notifications button, like the little bell thing when you subscribe, if you have notifications turned on, I guess you should get a notification when I schedule it. Okay, let's not worry about that too much. First things first, I'm going to be online for the next hour or so, and it means it's usually a small and select live audience, and I'm going to be doing 3 readings if 3 people want them. So I can take bookings now. There'll be 1 reading at 1:15, 1 reading at 1:30, 1 reading at 1:45, if people want them. So that's a way of kind of structuring it and limiting it for me, so I don't get overwhelmed and confused and mix up people's readings. Redwing says notification half hour before and when it starts. Okay, but Redwing, do you only get a notification half hour before, or do you also get a notification like 2 weeks before when I schedule it? I will have to do some research into that, because maybe I'm not, maybe there's something more I can do to notify you guys that I'm going to be online, because I'm not very regular at the moment. I have been changing the times. I've been experimenting with different times. It's always on a Sunday, but it's not always the same time. Of course, if there's any YouTube buff joining this conversation, write in and let us all know exactly the best way to do this. Anyway, okay, for today, I also have a theme. And the theme is this, and it's a theme that's been sort of boiling up in my tarot practice for the last few years. I've been reading tarot since I was 19, back in the old days. And I think in the old days, I was doing the kind of like the standard tarot reading, which is that someone would come round to my house and pay me whatever it was. I had an advert in the paper, and someone would sit there for an hour. It was usually an hour. And that would be a sort of like what you would sort of call an in-depth tarot reading. But as I've got sort of more experienced and I suppose better at it, and I've gone a bit turbo since the pandemic. I increased my tarot practice a lot, did a lot more reading, a lot more reading, a lot more book reading. And I made videos, and I've been live, and I've been talking to you guys, and I've been in a kind of like a more serious tarot frame of mind since 2020. And my emphasis has changed, that I now don't necessarily go to tarot for like a 1 hour in-depth meditational thing. People sometimes come around for tarot readings, and we do that. But I do tarot for myself quite a lot. And I have found that I can do a tarot reading for myself in about 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. And some of the messages that I get in those very short sessions are just as valuable as what might come out of like a 1 hour session. And I also noticed that when I've been reviewing tarot books, there are certain books that I've taken against. You know, I suppose, vaguely notorious for being someone who is against Rachel Pollack's book 78 Degrees of Wisdom. I mean, love it or hate it, I have a reason for that, which is that I think it's old-fashioned. I think it's a bit sort of 20th century in a way, in that I think it makes things complicated. And I think the older books do make tarot complicated, and I think some of the new books as well make tarot complicated. But it may be that if you go back further, like into the 18th century, and when tarot was maybe more of a Romany or Gypsy thing, maybe readings were quicker. And I've been working my way towards this idea that tarot readings can be a bit like fortune cookies. And I don't mean that facetiously. I think that, if the spirit guides, or whatever you want to call them, want to talk to you, it might be more like an oracular pronouncement. What has 4 legs, then 2 legs, then 3 legs. It might be sort of like a sphinx-like riddle might come through the cards, which might give you much more to work with than sitting there in a highly psychological, highly symbolic, highly complex meditational state with a tarot reader for an hour. So I'm interested in the idea of short, sharp tarot readings. And the word in my head at the moment is like fortune cookie style tarot readings. I do them for myself. For example, I had one the other day, and it was, tend your garden unobserved. In other words, I had the Queen of Coins, and as the main card, and then I had the Page of Swords reversed. So the Page of Swords is the observer, reversed, unobserved, no observer. So I was worrying about the book that I'm writing and all the rest of it, and I got these 2 cards, and I thought, tend your garden unobserved. In other words, I can carry on working on my novel, not asking for feedback, not worrying about how it's going to be received in the world, not worrying whether it's fashionable or politically correct or so forth. So it was a fortune cookie reading, and I get those for myself, and I would like to offer them either professionally to other people or to you guys, or I would like to explore that in a book. So that's the theme of today. And that's something I'm throwing out. Like, what do you think of that? Do you think tarot should be short and sharp and sort of like, highly condensed? Or should it be something which spreads out over an hour or an hour and a half? So Redwing says, I get notification weeks before and at the half and start. Okay, that's great. I'm really happy. Anna Louisa Herring says, just so you know, I've been loving your spread ideas. They've been helping me a lot when trying the Tell Me Anything readings. They've been helping me a lot when trying the Tell Me Anything readings. Which is the tell... Anna, I'm really pleased that you like my spread ideas. I'm not quite sure which spread you're referring to there. But yeah, you're only as good as your spread in tarot. Meg says, agree. Many books, very complicated as well as overly specific. I do like short readings too most of the time. I feel the connection is usually made immediately, even if I don't understand right away. I think that's absolutely right. I think that's absolutely right. And this is why, again, I'm against the idea of, I think it's really good to read up about tarot and read as many books as you want, books you like, books you don't like, because they all have something they all enrich your feeling about the cards, and they make your feeling about each card more holistic and more in depth. But I also think you don't want to get too kind of het up about worrying about whether you know everything about a card. The card doesn't really have a truth. These are playing cards. They were designed as playing cards. They weren't designed as fortune-telling cards, and the fortune-telling has been imposed upon them. So in a way, you can read tarot without ever reading a book about tarot. You can read tarot just spontaneously responding to the images, and people do, which is why the Rider-Waite-Smith is very good in that sense. So I think all that matters is that you have some personal relationship with each card, and then what's happening is that a part of yourself or someone else or something else in some other part of the world or the universe is helping you to think straight, and I think has help or energy or a message for you when you put the cards down. And so the cards help you to just receive what the message might be. When I was training, I did a psychic, a one-year training with a friend of mine, Keith, and he used to make us do divination with other things, like other packs of cards that weren't tarot cards, that weren't playing cards. That there was a pack of cards released by Penguin Books in which each card was on the back. Each card was the cover of a murder mystery. So you could do a reading, and they would be like The Mouse Trap and Murder on the Orient Express, or whatever. And then you had to try and do your reading using the titles of murder mysteries. You can use anything. You can use found objects. You can use tea leaves. You can use pebbles. It's just going into that space, isn't it? Oh yeah. Anna says, tell me anything readings are those with no specific question nor topic. We're a bit in the void. Exactly. And I think they're very good for self-reading, aren't they? Because if you're working with a client, then in a sense, your job is to sort of crack the client open and try to find out what's bothering them, and so that you can help, and so you can then ask the right questions. Is the client depressed? Is the client anxious? Is the client lost? There are all these different reasons for asking for a reading. When you do a reading for yourself, you can't. I mean, the challenge is, how do you crack yourself open? And so that's why those spreads are good. Your idea, Meg says, I also love your ideas about spreads, and especially your idea of picking a significator card to pull around. Yeah, I think. By the way, I don't claim credit for the ideas that I pass on. I mean, some of these spreads I feel like I invented, but I mean, tarot spreads, they all come from the same kind of principle. The guy called Marcus Katz is quite good at this kind of imaginative way of using tarot cards, imaginative way of inventing spreads or using significators and so forth. I think I might have got quite a lot of inspiration from him. And there's also a woman called Barbara Moore who has a book on tarot spreads, and it contains about 150 spreads. And you don't have to use them all, but once you've read the book, you get a feeling for how you can design your own spreads. So we've got a small but select crowd here at 11:20 Greenwich Mean Time. And we're all saying hi and thinking about tarot. And I would just like to ask if anyone tuning in today would like a reading. It might be a very short fortune cookie style reading. But if you would, let me know. David says, "Morning, Robert. Just randomly ran across your live today." Oh, that's great. And you're in the USA, aren't you, David? I think. I'm trying to find the ideal time to do these lives that's ideal for me and ideal for you. Oh, Spain. Okay, that makes sense. So you're probably in the same. I think Spain's the same time zone as Germany, isn't it? I think Portugal maybe is in the UK time zone. But anyway, great that you've joined. I'm going to have a mouthful of tea. Okay, so we have Franco to thank for that. Franco's on the same page as Germany ever since that little inconvenience of World War II. We've had our reading for the live stream, and we got that there's going to be good energy coming through, some nice constructive energy, ideas, progress possible, 3 of batons. The card for me was the 7 of Pentacles reversed, which means no rest for Robert this morning. I'm working hard. The card for you guys was the 4 of Swords, which is a guy lying down. So I think that you guys are all very relaxed this morning. But yeah, the bookings diary is open, and I will do up to 3 readings between now and 12 o'clock GMT. And David and any late joiners, I've been talking about concise readings and reducing things to almost like a riddlesome fortune cookie pronouncement. In fact, I think I might even collect, 200 fortune cookie pronouncements that have come out of my readings and turn them into a deck. So if anyone would like one of those, let me know. Otherwise, has anyone read any great tarot book or come across a tarot pack? I just did a review of the Luminash Tarot. That's my last video last week. Look, it's tiny. It's not only small format, that's it compared to my mug, but also it's just major arcana only. This designer who does these cards, Ash La Estrella, she's a Marseille tarot reader. And as you know, I'm not. And I've tried, but it's like, it's like Mac and PC, isn't it? You're either one thing or you're the other, I think. So I can't really read with Marseille Tarot. And I adore her style. I mean, her full pack is wonderful. It's just, you get the whole Marseille deck in these vibrant sort of patisserie colors. But I didn't want to, indie decks are not as cheap as mass market decks, so I didn't really want to buy her full Marseille deck. Then I noticed that she does this one, which is small size and only major arcana. And I wanted I do sometimes use majors only for certain parts of my practice. So I thought, oh, I can use this. And it's also, as you see, it's small. Oops. Anna says, I read a very good tarot book that is more on the interaction between reader and client. Awesome stuff. Will you give me a reading by Jenna Matlin? Oh, that's nice. Make a note. That sounds like it's a sort of slightly unusual angle to come from for a tarot book. And I think the relationship between the reader and the client is extremely, extremely delicate and extremely important. I had a very good tarot reader for many years back when I lived in Brighton, in England, on the south coast of England. An amazing reader called Ruth. And she was a young lady, but she actually retired as a tarot reader and took up another career. But she was absolutely staggeringly good. She was the sort of person who could not only, give you sort of archetypal energies and things in her readings, but she would give you names. Names. It was a time when I was working in the film business, and I was just about to get kind of my big break, which was like a Hollywood movie. And it was directed by John Amiel, the guy who did films like Copycat and Summersby back in the 80s. And Ruth said, you're going to be working with a guy called Jonathan. And I had heard that there was some interest from this direction. And I said to Ruth, no, he's not called Jonathan, he's called John. And she said, oh, okay. And then later I found out that he actually is called Jon, short for Jonathan. So my tarot reader knew more about my career than I did in specific detail, which I think is quite good, don't you? Meg says, if I may get a reading, it is about family difficulty, management of a farm, but really about one sibling out of state, tying it to other family dynamics. Question, is best way for me to be involved? Okay, so Meg, just in terms of the wording of your question, is best way for me to be involved? Do you mean what is the best way for me to be involved? Or do you mean is you being involved best? In other words, could you just rephrase the question? I think I'm more or less there. I'll start shuffling. We're on the half-hour mark. What is the best way for me to be involved? Okay. Okay, so do we want a 2-card reading or a 7-card reading? Let's try with 2 cards, the 2-card reading that expands. So please give us a reading from Meg in this instance about the farm and the sibling. So Meg, this might be short and fortune cookie like, following on from what we've been saying. So I'm being distracted. There are ads coming up. Meg, could you tell me if you'd like me to use the left-hand pile, the right-hand pile, or the centre pile? That's from my point of view. Left, right, or centre. There's always a delay, isn't there? Left, okay. Meg, I just need to ask you, is the sibling, if you want to let me know, is this a brother or a sister? But if not, just say sibling. That's fine. Sister-in-law, I see. Well, however we phrase this, read this in terms of gender, I think what I've done is I've done an issue and suggestions spread here. So in other words, the 2-card spread with the 2 extra cards for illumination. So your issue here is the Knight of Cups, and we're going to say that's the sibling. So that's the issue in this whole thing. And we've got, I'm going to put this down on the table so I can read it. Have a look at it. These are the suggestion cards, the Ace of Cups, the 2 of Cups, and in the middle, the 10 of Swords. Okay, have a look. Now I'm going to put it on the table. So it seems that it seems that there's a lot of, I feel like Steven Spielberg saying using this sort of language. It feels that there is a lot of affection in the family. And when you have a so-called negative card as a suggestion card, I read that as an acceptance. So it feels like the suggestion is to accept your feeling of being restricted, that your freedom is being restricted. And I think these 2 cards, the Ace and the 2, sort of bookend this this trio and make it feel quite safe and make it feel, yeah. I'm going to say less rather than more. I'm going to go for this concise vision of reading today. So I think, Meg, the best way for you to be involved is to just stay focused on the foundation of love and affection within the family, what love and affection there is at all times. And if you feel that your freedom is being restricted, I think for now, the advice is not to kick against that too much. Okay. And that's the reading. I'm going to take a deep breath. Meg says, spot on, amazing. I pulled 3 out of 4 of those on my own yesterday. Wow, there you go. So, so we seem to be in tune on that one. Very welcome, Meg. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to read. If there's anyone else who wants a reading, there's certainly time for one more. So in that case, in a sense, and I'll just tell you what I mean by Fortune Cookie Tarot. It's often that this card here is not necessarily blindingly a revelation. If you don't know what you're worried about, then this card can tell you what the reading's about. In Meg's case, we knew what the reading was about. It was about the sister-in-law here, but there is that sibling there. So then, in a sense, just to demonstrate, then the advice comes in these 3, and then then it could be if you got it in a fortune cookie, it might say something like concentrate on the love and accept the restriction, which is maybe that's 8 words. And so I think sometimes 8 words can be as much as an hour of staring at tarot cards and talking about archetypes and talking about, the hero's journey and all those Jungian things which you could get into. David says, is fortune cookie reading without a pre-decided topic then? No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. But it's just, David, that I tend to, when I'm reading for myself, I get up in the morning and I might have, for example, 10, just pulling a number out of the air. I might have 10 up and running anxieties in my life, or 10 up and running unanswered questions. And I get up, brush my teeth, and I think to myself, how can I make the most of this day? What does the universe think that I should? How does the universe think I should go about this day? How can I be intuitive and make this day work for me? And so I don't always know what my reading's about. And this is why I don't know whether you are familiar. I mean, I think a couple of people today are familiar with the spread I'm talking about, but I have a spread which I think might be my invention, but it's so obvious I can't really claim credit for it. But it's this one, which is the What's My Problem spread. And you say, what's my problem? I don't know what the issue is today. I don't know what the reading's about. And it's there. And then that's the advice. And there may be other advice cards if you want more. So I've been doing a lot of these readings where the question is not specific. But also, I mean, the question could be specific. I could get up in the morning and think, what the hell am I going to do about my novel? And it could be this again, because the tarot might say, well, Okay, so we know what the reading's about, but the tarot might say is the underlying, your underlying issue is this, for example, fear or low self-esteem or any of those things, or interference, you know, from a bad critic, bad feedback. And then the advice is this, you know, do this, do that, be this, do that, think this, think that. So this spread, which tends towards, I think, it's all about the advice. It tends towards the fortune cookie advice, I think. This spread can be used either with a question or without a pre-decided question. So if I write a book called Fortune Cookie Tarot Reading, I think I might be talking about that spread quite a lot. By the way, my book has hit a slight snare. It's written, but I've taken so long over it that now I want to rewrite it, and I've been writing it with a co-author, and the split between me and the co-author in terms of material has changed. It was going to be 50-50, and now it's going to be mainly my book, and I'm hoping that the co-author will let it be 10% his book as well, or it might just be my book, but it means that I now have to rethink it a bit. Oh. If no one else signs up, I will take a fortune cookie. What's my problem of the day reading? Okay, David. Okay. Well, it's nearly 1:45, so I think we'll do that. What's your problem of the day? Okay, and David, what I would say is that you can say that, because it is the what's my problem spread. You can also use the word issue, because then it's not problematized, which is the most terrible, terrible word, but it is part of the age we live in. So instead of thinking in terms of problems, we can think in terms of issues or themes. So when I use this spread, I actually say, you know, what's my problem / issue / theme. Oh, there you are. Let's go with issue. Good. So David Burnett, okay, can we please have a reading for David? What's the issue for today? And I will decide how many advice cards you're going to get. This is for David. What's the issue for today? Okay, David, could you pick a pile? That's left, that's central, and that's right. Okay, central. Okay. You have got, as your issue card, you've got a reverse devil. And your advice cards are King of Cups and Pope. Have a look, then I will put it on the table so that I can read it. Okay, and here's my reading. Reversed devil. What is the devil? It's the drives tending towards selfishness, I would say, for me, in my stripped down set of meanings. Reverse devil. Your issue today is that you might be trying to be too nice. Too saintly. There's another word for it, isn't there? Altruistic. And not you are trying not to be selfish, but King of Thrones is the person who knows who he is and is in touch with his power. That all the kings are, I guess, and all the queens. But this is something to think about. Self-mastery gives you the key. Okay. So that's quite interesting, David, because here we've got the drives and the selfishness. And, you know, we live our lives and we try to fit in society. And sometimes that means being nice and being altruistic and sacrificing ourselves. And that might be unsatisfactory. It's a bit longer than fortune cookie, isn't it? But this guy here has got self-mastery, which leads to strength, and it leads to a position of strength in society. Okay. So that was my reading for David, and I think it's maybe a bit ambitious of me to say that tarot readings should be reduced to 8 words, but I do think they can be interesting if they're done in like 5 minutes. I believe that was 5 minutes. We probably started at 11:42-ish, maybe 11:43, and it's now 11:48-ish. So I'm interested in getting straight to the heart of the cards, and getting a message from maybe 2 or 3 cards, and then just in a sense leaving it to sink in and just resonate in the mind. I mean, if David or Meg were here sitting in my study, we could then go on further from there, couldn't we? And we could spend an hour, and then we could do other spreads, and we could look for different areas of life, and tarot's brilliant for that. But I think there's a lot that you can get from 5 minutes. Okay, David says, so interesting. Do you see 5, the Pope, and 15, the Devil, as 2 sides of the same coin? I wouldn't use that expression, but yes. I wouldn't say 2 sides of the same coin. I would say they're in opposition to each other. And let's have a look at them in the Rider-Waite-Smith, Pope and Devil. The Devil is a parody of the Pope to some extent. This is the thing about, you know, which pack you use. This is why I think you might as well just use the Rider-Waite-Smith and have done with it. Because the imagery in Rider-Waite-Smith is it's got a bit more traditional and esoteric content. Here we go. And guys, you know this anyway, but I'm going to do this for the benefit of people who might be tuning in and who might not be as advanced in tarot as you. But look, there they are. I mean, the Pope and the Devil. they have both got their right hand raised. And they're making a slightly different gesture. The Pope is doing this, and the devil is doing that. I suppose we could, the devil's doing Mr. Spock, isn't he? So I suppose we could look into that. And, you know, the Pope has got 2 monks and the devil's got 2 slaves. So they are clearly resonating with each other. They're referring to each other. I think they're both power figures. And I think the devil, I see the Hierophant as holding the keys to the social hierarchy. So the emperor is in a sense the police and the tax man, and the you know, it's the ultimate power of, I suppose, the state and society. It's the bottom line. You know, if you don't pay your taxes, the bailiffs will come round and take your furniture. If you shoot somebody, the police will come and put you into prison and you might never get out, you know, all those things. The Pope is slightly different because the Pope is how you are positioned in society, which, you know, once we establish that you're not going to go to prison, and you're not going to have the bailiffs around, so you're not at the absolute bottom level, then the question is, how far up in society are you? We are, alas, hierarchical creatures, even though we would like not to be. And the Pope seems to have the key to that. Whereas the devil is the drives, isn't it? And it's the repressed, it's the shadow, and it's everything that gets repressed by the need to be nice in order to progress up the social hierarchy. So we can, you know, we have hypocrites in society, don't we? We have people who on the outside are nice and respectable, but they might have nasty habits. Alternatively, you could say that they might have completely healthy habits, this is getting radical, which society doesn't approve of. You know, I mean, in the old days, you know, there have been centuries when it wasn't very good to be in a gay relationship or to have a gay sex life, because then that would exclude you from society. So yeah, exactly. I think they're in opposition, those 2 cards, and I think that is an interesting opposition. It's 11:53 GMT. Meg says both of those cards seem restrictive as well. Yes, I think it's true. But I think the devil, I think the Tower is a very interesting deck. And I think, as you might know, Meg, I have this feeling about tarot reading that we need, in a sense, a positive meaning for every card in the deck, because I don't really believe in bad luck or bad news, though I do think that life is complex. So I think, yes, there is restriction in both those cards. There's also, with the Pope, there's the keys, aren't they? The key unlocks the door. And I suppose with the devil, there is certainly a feeling of a kind of like a fiery power there, coming up from the, you know, the lower chakras, from the blood and from the flesh and so forth. I guess we can't escape restriction here and there. And we had, didn't we? We had the 8 of Swords, didn't we? In your reading, that's certainly a restrictive card. But there's always a interesting, positive little spin, I think, to every card in the tarot pack. You know, with the 8 of Swords, there's always the feeling that the restriction the bondage that around the woman doesn't look very secure. It looks like she could shake it off. Even the Nine of Swords, you know, it's a very depressive card, but there's nice symbols of love and knowledge on the bedspread. So it seems that with Pamela's images, there's always hope, and there's always positive things as well. David says, your favorite tarot author, Jodorowsky, haha, associates the devil with creativity thoughts. I think absolutely right. Absolutely right. Because, well, on the simplest level, creativity, I suppose, I'm not a big expert on the chakras, but I suppose it comes from the the second chakra from the lowest. I suppose it comes from the same chakra as sexuality. And so much of sexuality and eros is repressed and kept in the shadow by the whole process of civilization and society. So I think the devil is associated with creativity. And, I think if you're an artist, it's really a good idea to experiment with working with your shadow. What would be the naughty boy or the naughty girl solution to this artistic challenge? I love this expression. Oh, I've got the devil in me. Ooh, I had the devil in me. I had the devil in me. I had a donut. But I am writing a novel at the moment, and it is a bit wild. And I find the more I allow my central character, my narrator, the more I allow him to have faults, the better the novel becomes. So I allow my central character to be bitchy. I allow my central character to make bad decisions. I allow my central character to to cause chaos. This is in fiction. This is in art. I'm not advising bad behavior in real life. But I think for creativity, we do explore the shadow, don't we? So it's 2 minutes to the hour. Is there anyone who's tuned in who might like a one card, inspirational reading from my famous homemade antidepressive cards? And if you would like one, just give me a number and I will count from the top of the deck and give you a card. And Meg says, sorry, still on those cards. Yes, they show restriction, but I also see it as often optional and often self-imposed. Yep, it's true. Angie says 7. Okay, Angie. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Angie, you get fun. That's your theme for today and maybe tomorrow as well. Fun. Anyone else want one before we end? Just give me a number. Maybe not too high a number, between 1 and 10, maybe. I'm very proud of this. Angie says that makes sense. Thanks. And these things on these cards, they're not predictions. They are just something to hold in the air in your consciousness and maybe look out for it, or maybe attract it, or maybe just think about it as a nice thing. It's 12 o'clock GMT. Does anyone else want a one-word reading before I go and have my boiled eggs and toast? YouTube is giving me ads in the middle of my own live stream. Okay. It sounds like we're all done. Thanks for joining. David, you're welcome. Redwing, you're welcome. It was interesting. It's very nice for me to hold forth. It's a pity that you guys can't talk back to me. Maybe we can do another platform one day. Anna says, great live, Robert. Thank you so much for sharing your experience with us. You're welcome, Anna. Meg says, I found a deck that I have an unusually strong affinity with, even though it is a pip deck on terrible cardstock and it is too large for my hands. It is from 1974, called the Piatnik Wien from Austria. Wow. Wow. Piatnik Wien tarot. Well, that sounds like a real find. I've never heard of it before. I will look it up. Good luck with those large cards and good luck with those pips. So, you're welcome, Meg. So, bye everyone. The sun says bye for now. And I think I'm going to do another live next week, actually. Probably 5 p.m. GMT time. But what I will do is I will schedule it either tomorrow or Tuesday. I've just come back from holiday, so I've got a couple of things to do tomorrow. But I'll schedule it, and then, so that's 2 lives in a row. And then we'll see. Okay, bye everyone. Have a lovely Sunday.